The story opens with a tense moment as a young girl runs through the darkness, trying to escape from a man who is chasing her. Her breathing becomes heavier as she realizes the distance between them is shrinking. Despite her efforts to survive, she understands that she cannot outrun him forever. In a final act of desperation, she reaches a bridge and jumps from it, landing directly on a truck. The next day, the focus shifts to a detective named Walter, who spends time with his daughter, Faye. His daughter informs him that she might stay out late with her friends that night. Walter immediately becomes concerned and begins advising her. He encourages her to avoid strangers and think about her safety before making decisions, especially at night.
Ready for school?
Sit down. Men are
Pigs. I know. Can we go to school now?
After this conversation, Walter leaves for work and arrives at the location where the girl's body is discovered. He begins asking questions about how the body was found. His partner explains that a truck driver reported it after noticing something unusual on top of his vehicle during his route.
The driver found her when he unloaded the cargo. Given her injuries and the temperature shortly after, estimate she landed from a height of over 15 feet.
The driver had no idea how the body ended up there, which immediately raises confusion among the investigators. Walter then focuses on identifying the victim, and his partner confirms that the girl is named Allison. A missing report had already been filed for her earlier. Walter examines her body and begins analyzing the bruises. From the evidence, he concludes that she was likely held captive before managing to escape. He determines that she was being chased and, in an attempt to survive, she jumped from a high place. Since the body lands on a truck, Walter deduces that she must have jumped from a bridge along the truck's route. Using this reasoning, Walter and his team begin inspecting bridges in the area. After careful investigation, Walter arrives at a specific bridge that matches the pattern of the case. He becomes confident that this is the exact place where Allison jumped, and he concludes that the person responsible for her captivity may still be nearby.
Why this one?
It's isolated. She was being chased. Jumping is the only option.
At the same time, another storyline unfolds involving a young girl named Lara. She is seen sitting in a cafe with a middle-aged man who appears friendly on the surface. However, he manipulates her and gradually leads her to a hotel room. Once inside, he prepares to take advantage of her, but before he can proceed, another man named Michael suddenly enters the room and attacks him, knocking him unconscious instantly. When Malcolm regains consciousness, Michael reveals that he is aware of his crimes, stating that Malcolm has already harmed multiple girls. Michael explains that he has been tracking such offenders and has decided to take justice into his own hands. He physically incapacitates Malcolm in a way that ensures he can no longer harm others, and he also takes money from his accounts.
Listen, I haven't done anything wrong.
$92,000 in savings, another $8,000. Oh, you don't need that anymore. It doesn't work anyway.
What's happening to me?
I've disarmed you.
Michael gives him medication, stating that while it may help him recover physically, his ability to hurt others will be permanently removed. Before leaving, Michael warns Malcolm that if he ever reports the incident to the police, evidence of his crimes will be exposed, destroying his life completely. After that, it is revealed that Michael and Lara are working together. Their method involves identifying dangerous offenders, luring them into traps, and punishing them without involving legal systems. Michael later gives Lara a pair of earrings, which makes her happy at first. However, he explains that the earrings are not just accessories, but contain a hidden tracking device. Later that night, Lara proceeds to meet another target, waiting in a cafe for several hours. However, the man she is supposed to meet never arrives. Frustrated, she leaves the cafe and steps outside. At that moment, she notices a car nearby, and shortly after, she disappears without any trace. Michael quickly realizes that something has gone wrong and immediately tries to track her using the device in the earrings. While rushing to locate her, he drives at high speed but ends up in a serious accident. Police officers arrive at the scene and arrest him, despite his attempts to explain the situation. At the police station, an officer named Rachel begins interrogating Michael. During questioning, she questions him about tracking someone at the time of the accident. Soon after, Walter arrives at the station alongside Commissioner Harper. Walter questions Michael's identity, and Harper explains that Michael was once a respected district judge who handled major criminal trials. Over time, he made powerful enemies, and those criminals eventually attacked his home, killing his entire family. After this tragedy, Michael abandoned his position and decided to take justice into his own hands, targeting criminals personally.
He was a judge. He handled a lot of our criminal cases.
Walter understands that Michael is driven by pain rather than malice, and he decides to work with him to locate Lara. Together, they reactivate the tracking process, but they soon discover that the signal disappears at a fixed point. This indicates that the tracking device has been removed and discarded. To continue the search, police drones scan the nearby area and eventually detect a house. Walter enters the location, which appears completely abandoned. Inside, he discovers a basement filled with multiple small rooms. As he investigates further, he finds several girls being held captive in separate compartments. One of them is rescued, but it is not Lara, indicating that multiple victims are involved in the case. Eventually, Lara is found along with a man, and Walter overpowers the suspect, ensuring he is arrested. Meanwhile, the rescued girls are taken to the hospital for treatment. Later, Rachel speaks with the victims, but she quickly notices something disturbing. One of the girls does not respond at all during questioning. After further observation, Rachel realizes that the girls have been made deaf, explaining why they cannot hear or react to spoken communication. Meanwhile, Walter meets Michael and Lara again and warns them that their actions are dangerous and could lead to severe consequences. However, Michael refuses to stop and continues with Lara, remaining committed to his personal mission of justice. At the police station, Rachel interrogates the captured suspect named Simon. He behaves in a different and uncooperative manner, making it difficult to gather clear information. Despite repeated questioning, he provides no meaningful answers, leaving the investigation uncertain.
Is your name Simon Stalls?
Born 1987.
Meanwhile, Walter reviews every file connected to the recent murders happening across the city. Over the past months, several girls are found dead under similar conditions, and a disturbing pattern starts to appear in all of them. Every victim shows the same unusual sign: they are all made deaf. This detail immediately connects to the victim rescued from Simon's house, who is also found deaf. Commissioner Harper soon brings a device recovered from Simon's house. It is believed to be used to damage hearing and disable the victims. Walter and his team take the device to Simon for confrontation. The moment Simon watches it, he reacts violently and begins screaming uncontrollably.
This is how he made them all deaf.
His behavior becomes extremely unstable, and in this moment, a disturbing truth is revealed. Simon is deaf in one ear. This suggests that he may have suffered abuse in his childhood, which could be linked to his psychological condition. The police return to Simon's house and begin a deeper search of the basement. Inside, they discover several disturbing tools and equipment used for torture. The entire environment reflects years of abuse and violence, leaving the investigators disturbed. Walter becomes more determined than ever to ensure Simon is punished, believing that such crimes cannot be forgiven. Rachel, however, raises a concern that legal action against Simon may not be straightforward. She explains that Simon's mental condition may protect him from full responsibility under the law. She believes his mind works in a different way and suggests that past trauma may have shaped his behavior. Walter strongly rejects this idea and argues that Simon is far more dangerous than he appears. As the investigation continues, the police search deeper into the basement and begin to suspect hidden dangers above them. Suddenly, a gas trap is activated, trapping several officers inside. Panic spreads quickly as the situation becomes life-threatening. When Harper learns about the incident, he becomes furious and confronts Simon violently. Rachel immediately stops him, questioning his actions. Harper insists that Simon is a monster who deserves no mercy.
He rigged the fucking basement! He killed 6 fucking cops!
He explains that Simon had planned everything in advance, knowing that the police would eventually search his basement. The gas trap was deliberately set to kill the investigators. The situation turns tragic as 6 officers lose their lives due to the poisonous gas. Harper becomes enraged and demands maximum punishment for Simon. Meanwhile, Simon becomes increasingly terrified and begins speaking incoherently. Rachel listens carefully and uncovers a horrifying detail. Simon reveals that he burned several of the remaining victims. Despite this confession, Rachel feels something is still missing. She cannot believe that Simon is capable of executing such unimaginable crimes alone. She suspects that an accomplice is helping him in bringing victims while he carries out the torture. Harper then orders Rachel to build a strong case immediately and prepare Simon for trial. He demands that Simon be charged with kidnapping 96 girls and responsible for at least 40 confirmed murders. He pushes for the trial to begin the very next day. The pressure inside the police department increases rapidly. After the shift ends, 2 officers leave the station, but one of their cars suddenly explodes. Everyone rushes outside to respond to the emergency. This incident confirms that the situation is escalating beyond control. Harper becomes aggressive after this blast and gives Walter full authority to act without restrictions. He allows him to use any method necessary, including forceful interrogation, to find the person responsible for the attacks. The police now believe that Simon's accomplice must be behind these explosions, acting in response to Simon's detention. As the investigation deepens, the police uncover disturbing information about Simon's past. His mother was kidnapped and held in a factory where she suffered abuse. After surviving a near-death experience in a frozen lake, she eventually returned but discovered she was pregnant with her abuser's child, and eventually Simon was born. His mother takes her own life, leaving Simon completely alone and mentally unstable. After learning his background, Rachel confronts Simon with the details of his past, but Simon reacts with violence, grabbing her throat in anger. However, Rachel becomes mentally disturbed after this encounter. She remains alone outside the interrogation room and sits down alone, trying to process everything. At that moment, a man approaches her and hands her a box, claiming that Walter sent it. However, when Rachel examines it, she realizes that it is suspicious and likely not from Walter at all. She suspects it may contain a bomb sent by Simon's accomplice. In panic, she warns everyone to evacuate immediately. Meanwhile, an officer receives a threatening letter earlier in the day. The letter states that his daughter has been kidnapped and will only be returned if he secretly releases Simon from custody. He agrees to the killer's demand. He dresses Simon in a police uniform and quietly helps him leave the station without drawing attention. Shortly after, Walter returns and quickly rushes inside the station, only to discover that the situation has already changed. The bomb squad is present, and instead of finding an explosive device, they find the officer's daughter, alive but traumatized. It becomes clear that there was never a bomb. The entire setup was a psychological trick designed by Simon's accomplice to force the police to evacuate, allowing Simon to escape. Walter becomes disturbed after realizing how the accomplice has manipulated the police. He immediately fears for his own daughter, Faye, and rushes to ensure her safety. He warns Faye about the situation and decides to send her away from the city for her protection.
Get it. It's okay, Dad. Be careful.
The next day, Walter proposes a new plan to move forward. He suggests involving Michael again, believing his knowledge and experience of criminals could help identify the person who abused Simon's mother in the past. The team agrees, and Michael begins tracing the suspect. Soon, Walter arrives at the suspect's house, but when he enters, he finds the man already dead. However, Simon is sitting calmly nearby, as if waiting, and is arrested once again. But this time, he behaves differently. Instead of panic or confusion, he starts laughing and acts unusually aware. This sudden change confuses everyone, as it does not match his earlier behavior.
I give you this. You give me everything.
At the police station, Simon confesses everything and describes each crime, including the number of girls he kidnapped and killed. Meanwhile, Michael discovers that Lara has gone missing from his home. Panic immediately takes over him, and he rushes to Walter, demanding urgent action. He becomes convinced that Simon is responsible for Lara's disappearance, and threatens that if anything happens to her, he will personally kill Simon in front of everyone.
You find my girl unharmed, or I'm not responsible for what happens next.
Walter tries to calm him and assures him that Lara will be found alive. He then confronts Simon and demands information about Lara's location. Simon agrees to reveal the truth, but insists on one condition. He wants the media present so he can speak publicly. The police reluctantly accept, believing it might help locate Lara. When the media arrives, Simon is brought in front of the cameras. Instead of helping, he suddenly changes behavior and begins criticizing the media aggressively. He blames journalists for spreading misinformation and destroying truth for attention. His outburst creates panic in the room and tensions rise quickly. The police immediately remove him from the media area and place him back inside a vehicle. Unknown to the police, Michael secretly follows the vehicle, determined to reach Simon. His main objective is to find Lara, and he believes Simon holds the answers. Meanwhile, Walter reviews Simon's past interrogation footage and notices Simon used different hands while writing at different times. This inconsistency leads Walter to a shocking realization that changes everything. Walter concludes that there are not one but two people involved. He believes Simon has a twin brother, and both are working together in these crimes. Soon after, Michael violently crashes into the police vehicle transporting Simon. The impact causes destruction, and he pulls Simon out, demanding Lara's location. However, before he can continue, another man appears and shoots Michael. The truth is revealed in a shocking moment. Simon indeed has a twin brother. The twin brother stands beside Simon, and together they regain control of the situation. They take Rachel hostage and escape from the scene. Walter arrives shortly after and learns from a wounded officer that both Rachel and Lara are being taken to a frozen lake. The officer explains that the brothers plan to throw them onto the ice and burn them so the bodies sink into the freezing water. At the frozen lake, the brothers place Lara and Rachel on the ice, wrapping them in cloth soaked with oil. Their plan is to set them on fire so that the melting ice hides all evidence. Just before they can complete their plan, Walter arrives with the police. The sudden arrival forces Simon and his brother to abandon their plan and attempt to flee. Walter quickly rescues both Lara and Rachel. Rachel informs him that she saw brothers running into the nearby forest. Without hesitation, Walter and Rachel pursue them. Inside the forest, Simon's twin brother ambushes Rachel and holds her at gunpoint. However, Walter also manages to capture Simon and holds him at gunpoint. A tense exchange begins between both sides, each demanding the other release their hostage. Walter then orders Simon that if he truly cares about his brother, he should go and embrace him tightly and not let go under any circumstance. Simon follows the instruction without hesitation and walks toward his brother, and both of them embrace each other. At that moment, Simon's twin brother suddenly fires a shot, hitting Walter. However, Walter's plan begins working, as he knew that the frozen lake beneath them would not support their combined weight if they stayed together in one place. As expected, the ice begins to crack and break. Simon and his brother fall into the freezing water below. Simon's twin brother struggles to escape, but Simon holds him tightly, refusing to release his grip. Their struggle continues underwater until both eventually drown in the icy lake. Walter lies injured nearby as Rachel rushes to help him. Over time, Walter recovers and focuses on his personal life. He spends time with his daughter Faye and Rachel, who become part of his life.